Am I the a-hole for not eating my husband's foot raspberries? I washed a big bowl of raspberries the other night and was snacking on them while my husband and I watched a movie. While we were watching the movie, my husband grabbed my Vaseline that I use on my chapped lips and started rubbing it all over his infected, peeling feet. He then proceeded to grab raspberries from the bowl and eat them. I stopped eating them after that and said he could finish them. He asked why I wasn't eating them anymore and I told him because he was touching his feet and then eating them. He didn't wash his hands. He got mad at me saying he wasn't dunking his hand in the bowl and grabbing the berries by the handful. He was just grabbing one at a time. I told him I wasn't eating the foot raspberries now. I also gave him my tub of Vaseline because I'm not using that on my lips anymore. He doesn't understand why I'm upset about that. Am I the a-hole for telling a co-worker she isn't Native American? I was speaking with co-workers and the topic of a nearby town came up. The town has a difficult to pronounce name and my co-worker made a comment about what kind of idiot came up with the name. I pointed out that it was a word is from a Native American language. My co-worker replied with, well, I'm allowed to make fun of it then. I'm part Indian, Native American. My co-worker appears very white. From what she has told me, her family has lived in the same rural area for years and this is the first time she has mentioned anything about this. Curious, I asked her what nation she was from and she said she had a Cherokee ancestor. I asked if she is registered with a Cherokee tribe and she says no. I asked who the ancestor was and she said her great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess. Here's where I might be the asshole. I am white and know very little about Native Americans but I do know that white people love to claim to be Cherokee without any evidence to back it up. And that the Cherokee Nation doesn't have princesses. I know this because my estranged aunt used to say the same thing while everyone else in my family said they had literally never been told about indigenous ancestry. A DNA test of another aunt proved this later on. We're just white. So, and this is where I might have been rude, I tell her that the Cherokee don't have princesses and she's probably wrong. She got really defensive and insisted it was true. I told her that lots of white people claim to be Native and aren't, and that with DNA tests there isn't really an excuse not to look into it. Needless to say the vibe became awkward quickly and this coworker has been ignoring me since and seemed pissed at me. Another coworker said I should have just let it go and not said anything. My reasoning is if she's going to say I'm Native American so I can make fun of them she better be damn sure she's actually Native American. And if she is Cherokee, I feel like she still can't make fun of a different tribe's language anyway. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's BF that he shouldn't have been allowed to eat? Some friends and I decided to do the trend where we have a dinner and everybody brings a food that starts with the first letter of their name. There is one friend of ours that's a bit of a moocher. Whenever we go out she never pays for stuff, whether it's the dinner bill, tickets for the movies etc., we always end up paying for her. But everyone accepted this and doesn't really have an issue with it. However recently, it's become worse. She's been dating this guy for a couple of months and she brings him everywhere with her, even when he's not invited. So now we have two people to pay for. Also I feel like I have to say that they have jobs, they're not struggling. It'd be different if they were broke, then of course I wouldn't mind. But yeah, we had the dinner last night and everybody brought food and put a lot of effort into it. These two however showed up with absolutely nothing. Not even a bottle of soda. We were annoyed but nobody said anything. It wasn't until the end of the night when they were leaving, that I cracked a little. The friend's BF was taking home all the barbecue ribs that were left. I repeat, all of it and it was a lot. Like damn, be considerate at least. He emptied the entire tray of ribs into a container. That's when I politely asked can you maybe not take all of it? The others might want some too. He got all defensive and asked why are you treating me like I'm stealing all the food? I clarified that I never said such a thing and that I only asked that he didn't take all of it. He got angry, plopped the ribs back and said, fine, I don't need your food to which I replied, it kinda seems like you do and to be honest, you shouldn't have eaten at all since you didn't contribute again, as usual. Then my friend came, took him and just left without saying anything. Now apparently, she's angry with us, mainly me. Most of my friend group doesn't think I did anything wrong but there are a couple who are saying that I shouldn't have said anything. The thing is that I didn't even say anything to my friend because I don't mind that she doesn't contribute. Her boyfriend was the one irritating me. He eats the most food but doesn't contribute, drinks the most alcohol, doesn't contribute, orders really expensive meals at restaurants, doesn't contribute towards the bill. I guess I got kind of annoyed and snapped at him. I tried phoning her to clarify that I don't have any issue with her but she's ignoring me. I don't know, maybe I should have left well enough alone. Am I the a-hole for not comforting my in-laws? My wife, 29F, and I, 30M, held a gender reveal for our first child yesterday. It was my wife's idea since her parents and a few other people wanted to know the gender. I don't really care what gender it is as long as it's healthy. My Mill and Phil wanted it to be a boy because they always wanted a son but had two daughters instead. My wife also wanted it to be a boy but only because of her parents. She didn't really care much either way. It was a very small gathering with just a few friends and close family members. After it was revealed that the baby is a girl, my Mill walked away and got very upset and my Phil looked disappointed. After around 10 minutes I went into the garden to see my Mill crying. I asked her what's wrong and she said that she really wanted a grandson. I told her that I'm sorry she's disappointed but it doesn't really matter that much, and she got really annoyed at me. At this point my Phil had joined us and heard what I said to her. He told me I should be sad too since I won't be able to teach the baby about cars. I'm a mechanic and I joked a few times about getting the baby to follow in my footsteps. I told him that she might be interested in cars when she's older, so I don't really understand how that's relevant. They were saying a bunch of things about what they can't do now because she's a girl, like taking her to sport games and teaching her about sports. They said that I'll be missing out on giving a son the talk and girls. I don't really care that much about that, but what if the baby likes girls? So their argument is pretty weak. They said a few other things about why they wanted her to be a boy, but I just walked away and went back inside. My Mill and Phil explained the whole argument with my wife and she got really pissed at me. She said that I should have comforted them and had at least a bit of sympathy. I just don't understand why the gender is such a big deal. Shouldn't they just be happy they're getting a grandchild? Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my inheritance with my dad and brother after discovering a family secret? My grandma, Dad's mom, left me 27F, my dad's 52M, portion of her inheritance but left him and my brother 30M, nothing. For context, me and my brother have never met my granddad. According to my dad, he and his father had a very toxic relationship. After my dad and my mom, 49F, met, they started dating at university and they had my brother. My parents then got married, which made my granddad stop talking to my dad. A couple of years later had me and we've been living happily ever after. After my granddad died, my dad began to spend more time with his mom. We got to also spend more time with her and we even spent the Christmas holidays at their house. She was this sweet old lady who just loved us so much. Her energy was so electric and contagious. I won't lie when I say that Christmas as a teenager were my most cherished times. Sadly, my grandma passed away last year. After her funeral, I and my two aunties were called to speak to a lawyer. She died with a house worth more than £500,000, for context she lived near Oxford, to her name, and over £200,000 worth of cash and other heirlooms. When we went through the inheritance, the lawyer explained that she divided it into 3 equal parts. It was between her 2 daughters and me, who got my dad's share of the inheritance. She left her son nothing. When my dad found out, he protested and asked how was that possible, but I wasn't too concerned. During the proceedings, my grandma's lawyer, who was in charge of the inheritance, gave me a letter written by her a year ago. In this letter, to be read after her death, she explained that her husband, my granddad, had disowned my dad completely. This is because my dad is not my brother's actual father, as he's a child from a relationship my mom had previously. My dad met my mom when she was pregnant with my brother. My grandparents, my granddad, in particular, thought this was extremely weird. He did not approve of this and was vehemently against it. My dad didn't listen and married my mom a year after my brother was born, which prompted my granddad to excommunicate him for good. During the years my grandma stayed in contact with my dad, but we, my brother and I, did not meet her until after my granddad died. The thing is, neither my brother nor I knew that my dad wasn't his biological father. A day later, my dad called me to discuss the inheritance, but I didn't want to meet him. He doesn't know that I know and I don't know how to tell him I know. I haven't received any money yet, but based on this I feel like I will not share it. My family are understandably calling me greedy, but I just don't really trust them anymore. This is already causing heavy division in my family and now I feel like dropping this news will destroy my family completely. Should I just be truthful about the reasoning or what should I do?